Wade to the basket, hammers it home. Sexton solito de tres en camino. ¡Pow! Sí, señor, el Torito Colin Sexton.
Welcome to CavsHQ. Thank you for joining us on Fox Sports Ohio and the Cavaliers Radio Network. Now, here are your hosts, John Michael and Rafa Hernandez-Brito.
Hi, everyone. Welcome inside Fred McLeod's studio here in the depths of Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. I'm John. This is Rafa. Great to have you aboard for this week's edition of CavsHQ. Cozy studio, huh? Well lit and everything else.
High tech.
Yeah, high tech. Big week of sports.
Let me put it this way. Opening of, first of all, it's Monday Night Football.
Okay.
Opening of the World Series.
Right.
The kickoff of the NBA season, including Cavs opening the season in Orlando.
Wednesday.
And a new episode of CavsHQ.
Yeah.
How much better can it get?
Wednesday in Orlando, then the home opener right here.
Yeah.
The newly transformed Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. That is Saturday. The Cavaliers tip off against the Pacers. Only a couple more days of Camp Beeline. Who do you like, by the way, in the World Series?
I like Washington.
To win, or you like your heart likes Washington, or your brain likes Washington?
That's a hard question.
Your brain can't like Washington.
You know, Houston looks so powerful.
That's what I'm saying.
But their pitching has been struggling, and in the playoff, pitching kills any kind of hitting. And I think the way that the Nationals pitching has been going, I think they'll benefit from the rest. Everybody says or question how they're going to do with after being off for almost a week. I think their pitching loves that. We'll see what happens, and hopefully there'll be real matchups, real duels in the mound. But you know the starting pitching for the Astros struggle against the Yankees in the series, so we'll see.
That was a great series, by the way. Astros.
Really,
Yankees. Again, I'm not rubbing it in. I know you're a Yankees fan, but unbelievable series. How high was that pitch Altuve hit? I mean, I know Altuve. It's hard to throw a low pitch to Jose Altuve.
He looked like he was playing high a lot.
I mean, Chapman's throwing 100
There's
mile an hour
nothing you can
fastball
do.
up by his eyes, right?
There's nothing. It's not like he threw a changeup or something, and he didn't throw his best stuff. He got beaten with his best stuff on. So hey, you got to give it to them.
So a big week of Cavs basketball. Camp Beeline is coming to a close.
Yes.
Finally, they're going to get out there and get it going. We mentioned Wednesday night the Cavs open in Orlando. The coaching staff has made no secret about the fact that Cavs defense last season was not particularly good. They have gone out. Obviously, there's a new coaching staff. They've hired associate head coach Bickerstaff, and he is in charge of this Cavs defense. Not an easy task, but hey, it's on the new coach. He was in Memphis the last couple of seasons, and he's our featured guest. We're going to catch up with him.
But I tell you what, it looks different.
Well,
That's one thing. Now we just gotta wait to see how it works. But it looks completely different when we see them working and preparing for the games and preparing during practice. So I like it the way he's setting it up. Yeah. It's more hustle. It's more responsibility to stay with your man, and we'll talk to him about that.
You know, when I talked to him about a week ago, getting ready for our preseason games, he said the number one thing that stood out. My question to him was, all right, look, when you look back at the tape, you know, what's the number one thing that jumped out? And he said physicality. Yeah. He said this team needs to be more physical. We allowed other teams to run wherever they want, with or without the ball, and we just need to grind a little bit more. Yes, you're right. We're going to see changes schematically, you know, what this team wants to do system-wise, but when it gets down to it, he said this team just needs to be more physical on that end of the floor.
And physical doesn't necessarily mean, you know, bumping or hitting. It's more hustling. It's more staying with your man. It's more it just closing up the play, little, giving the help up in the top of the key. So I like what I see in terms of what the changes that are being instituted. Now we just got to see the whole camp work coming to fruition and see what can be better. And then again, to keep in mind that we just need to see the development of this unit as we go on.
Right. Now, I also like the interplay of JB with his father, Bernie.
For sure, yes.
Bernie, of course, legendary coach in this league, has been a big part of this organization for years now. Now his son comes in, and it's special. It is. I mean, they've done some special things historically, speaking in terms of the NBA, and now we get to see it right in front of us. And I like comparing and contrasting JB's mannerisms with that of Bernie. Not only Bernie as he is now, but when you see Bernie when he was on the sidelines and he was coaching, the similarities and some of the
Bernie
differences.
was intimidating though in the sidelines.
Bernie, yeah, he was scary.
JB gets riled up, gets excited, but I'm nothing against him. I'm not saying, but JB, I mean Bernie, I don't want to say scary, But you feared that guy when you saw him on the sidelines. He never really like popped a smile or something. He was almost very business
intense.
Yeah.
Bernie Bickerstaff was very intense, which is funny now because he's the happiest, smiliest guy in the organization. I love to be around him. So, hey, we caught up with JB at Cleveland Clinic Courts.
We did.
And you're going to see that here in this first half of the show. Cavs HQ rolls on right after this. And we welcome you back on Cavs HQ. We are here at the Cleveland Clinic Courts along with our featured guest. It is Associate Head Coach JB Bickerstaff. First off, welcome to Cleveland. How do you like the new digs here?
It's nice. It's one of the nicest facilities I've been in. Most of the places I've been, we've had in-arena facilities, so to actually have this amount of space is awesome because there's so much you can do.
What has your first reaction been in terms of Camp Beeline? It's different to a lot of us who have been here over the last couple of seasons. Your thoughts as we roll along and get ready for the regular season?
We're excited about it. I think, it's fun, working with Coach and the importance of the fundamentals of the game of basketball. Like so many times we overlook those things and we start skipping steps. Right. And I think what Coach does so well is he doesn't allow us to skip steps. Things that may seem small, but in a game, you'll see it happen. The traveling that's being called so far in the preseason, like we spend a ton of time working on footwork to make sure our guys don't travel and are prepared for that. So it's fun to go back to the basics, and make sure we take care of the ball. We're not turning the ball over, those types of things.
Usually being the new guy in a group is difficult because you need to adjust, adapt to different things. But now you come into a coaching staff where almost the whole coaching staff is different. And I don't know if that helped or it doesn't, but what are the biggest challenges when you come into an organization, new coaching staff, new the way things are run? So what are the challenges?
Well, we just got to get to know each other. So much of this is about relationships, and when you're working with a team, that's the most important thing. So our coaching staff is a team in itself. So learning each other's strengths and learning each other's weaknesses, learning how each other coaches and teaches. And then, how do we work together so we're not stepping on each other's toes? So that takes time. Like building chemistry takes time, and it's, we're fortunate that the people we hired are quality people and people who have, the same end goal in mind. We're trying to create a culture where people want to be, and all the assistant coaches and along with Coach B, that's the mindset that we have as we go into every single day. So when you have that approach, going to work is fun, and you're going to bump your head a few times, but you're doing it with the right people, and it makes you want to work harder and get it right quicker.
We're talking to JB Bickerstaff. You talk about bump your head. You get hired as associate head coach. All right, you're tasked with fixing a defense that you made no secret about it, made records last season for all the wrong reasons. All right, when you take over that unit, I guess you can say, what is the first thing that you did when when they said, hey, you're going to be in charge of the defense? What's the first thing that you do to try to get that trending back in the right direction?
Well, the first thing I did is went back and watched a ton of film on last year. I think that was important, and it's not about figuring out schemes. It's trying to see what individuals are capable of, and then you try to find what they're capable of, and then you play to those strengths and try to put them in positions where they can be successful. We have schemes that we've used in the past that have worked. Even in Memphis last year, we were a top 10 defensive team, the entire season. Yeah. So there are things we know work. And then you take those and put them together with the individual strengths of this roster, and then hopefully you can improve.
Watching practice during this training camp, I noticed that there's not much switching going on. Is that a JB signature thing because of the staff you have, or that's something that you rather have you guys do, which is stay with your man, help a little bit, but stay with your man?
Yeah, I think, we like and we put guys on other people for a reason. And those are the matchups that we try to keep as much as we can. There are situations that we will switch some, but, it allows us also to be more physical. And I think, everybody's trying to, because of the new rules, the freedom of movement rules, everybody thinks you can't be physical, but you still can. You have to do it the right way and with proper technique. And when you don't switch, you have to be more physical to be successful to get through things. when you do switch, a lot of times people just play in space, and it ends up hurting you because now they're cutting to the basket. 2 people go with that guy. Now they're shooting 3. So the more physical you can be and put your body on somebody, it gives you, that power of I have to stay with mine, and it raises your level of competition as well.
You're a highly sought after coach during this offseason for obvious reasons. And we talked about a week ago, and I said, what brought you to Cleveland? The first thing he said is, that's easy, it's the people. Why so?
To me, that's what's important. Working in the NBA is a great experience. It's a great life. And the only thing that can mess it up is the people that you work with, to be honest with you. And, when you come here and the relationships that I have, in the past with Kobe, Gansey, Dre, and then obviously, my dad, it made it easy. And, having a conversation about the vision and what we wanted to build here, these are the people that you want to be around when you're trying to build something that we're trying to build here.
You mentioned your dad, and we're going to talk about your dad, Bernie, on the other side of the break.
We got serious questions.
Yeah.
Well, maybe. If you've seen this show, maybe not so serious. More Cavs HQ right after this.
Tied to Dad, a great moment beforehand. And also, well, the media knew about it. They asked Bernie what it's going to be like tonight going up against his son.
I want to kick his ASS. Okay, and he told me the same thing last night at dinner when we parted. He told me the same thing. That's what he wanted to do to us. So here we go.
2 proud NBA coaches, huh?
Yeah.
The question is, who won that night?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Who kicked whose ASS? That's the big question here.
I think they won, to be honest. I think they did.
I mean, you basically grew up on the basketball court. I mean, your dad was an assistant coach when you were born. He was a head coach. You went to the Supersonics when you were 6. I mean, obviously that's an experience. You'd be talking in the last segment about the NBA experience and how gratifying and rewarding that is. I mean, you're a 6-year-old kid. You're around Sean Kemp. I mean, what was that experience like for you? And how is it? I guess a better question is, how has it shaped you to what you are today?
It was unique, but we didn't really know it,
right?
Because it was all that we knew. Right. It was every single day, or every free day we had, we were going to practice with my dad, or we were ball boys at the game. So NBA players were like family to us. We still have relationships with guys, Dale Ellis, they joke around, as I always say, like he was our 3rd or 4th brother, because everywhere we went with my dad, Dale was coming. So we built those types of relationships, but we didn't know any better. I always tell this story. There was a player, you guys remember Reggie Williams, that played at Georgetown, and he had a son, little Reggie, and we were at a game, and he met another kid, and he asked the kid, "What channel does your dad come on?" And it was like, that's just what, everybody's daddy's supposed to come on TV. So that kind of always stood out in my mind. It's like, it's just normal, and it's what we expect, but obviously you learn, as you grow, how fortunate you are to be in a situation that we've been able to be in.
One of my duties here at CavsHQ is to do research on our guests.
Oh, jeez.
Right?
He has so many duties, Jay.
I heard a story, and I want you to corroborate whether it's true or it's been expanded. But 5, 6 years old, your dad is the coach of the Supersonics. You're a ball boy, you just mentioned that, and you're rebounding for Sean Kemp, and you're rebounding for Ellis and Xavier McDaniels and all those guys. I hear that you used to collect autographs.
Oh, wow.
And sell them at school to your friends. Is that when they would make requests to you and say, "Hey, can you get these guys coming into town? Can you get me the autograph?"
Yeah, that's true. That's true. One of the ushers finally caught me, and he told my boss. My boss is funny. He's still with the Oklahoma City Thunder now. His name's Mark St. Ives. He was our boss at the time, and one of the ushers told him. But I was making a killing. I had all the baseball cards and stickers you could imagine.
What did Dad do when he found out?
He never told my dad.
Oh.
He never. Oh, wow.
Way to go, Rafa.
Thanks.
Way to go, Rafa.
You outed me.
The other thing I wanted to ask you is you were a guest. I used to work with Richard and Channing on Road Tripping, and you were a guest when we were at the Globe, Body Globe. And you mentioned that you at one point before you went to Memphis, it looked like you were going to Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
And then you told your wife, Nikki, who was planning to head to Los Angeles, and she literally cried when you told her you were going to Memphis. And just so everybody at Memphis knows, she ended up loving Memphis. What was her reaction when you told the family that you were moving everybody to Cleveland?
She was excited. Yeah, she came out here with me, and we started looking for houses and looking for schools and that type of stuff. So I brought her out here at a perfect time. It was June. It was about 75, 80 degrees. Right. I tried to convince her that it was like this year round.
It stays like that.
Yeah, it stays like that. Yeah, it's the Midwest San Diego, we call it. But no, she loves it. She's excited. When she's happy and then the kids are happy, like it makes everybody else, we could live wherever. So it's been great.
Your father, Bernie, of course, legendary NBA coach, coached parts of 14 seasons, 5 different teams. When you think about the influences and what he gave you, do you ever, when you're out there on the floor, is there something that you say, man, that's all my dad in terms of what he's handed down to you?
I mean, my entire philosophy is based off watching him. And just like the way that he treated people, and it wasn't just players, it was everybody. And that's the approach that I try to have. It's like you treat everybody with respect, you give everybody dignity, and you be honest with everybody. And, that's the approach that I've taken. And it's helped me build some really great relationships, all across the league, and again, not just with the players, what I mean? Like I've got relationships with ushers, I've got relationships with, you name it, front office people, but it's just about respecting one another, and again, understanding how fortunate we are, and, not mess this up, it's like go to work with a smile on your face, be positive, and try to push wherever you're going and help it reach its potential, but being honest and truthful, I think that's where it starts.
We talk about Bernie Bickerstaff taking over in Seattle, but the road there was so difficult for him. I think he's one of the people that you realize that how much he stuck to what he really wanted to be, which was a head coach in the NBA. How old were you when you realized how difficult it was for your father for 12 years as an assistant? To be the guy breaking the mold and opening for people like you opening the road.
It was, when you sit back and you look at it, and a lot of times, again, he's just my dad. Right. So I never, you don't look at all the things that other people may see. You know what I mean? Like you're worried about him giving you your allowance, making sure you got gas money for your car. Those are the types of things. And then as I got older and I started having conversations with other people, when I got to, high school, college, and they would start to talk to me about all the things, that my dad had accomplished. And, then the people who he helped started having conversations with me about, that I never knew, but it was like, he gave me this opportunity. Your dad allowed me to do this. And then you start to realize, and then you do your own research and you're like, wow, you know what I mean? Like the impact that he's had, he'll never take credit for it because that's the type of person he is, but he's changed, hundreds of people's lives and given hundreds of people opportunity to do things that before him, they weren't thought of, as an opportunity.
Was he as tough as a dad as he looked on the sidelines? Because your dad never looked like
They never looked too happy.
He looked like the type of guy that the players didn't want to mess with.
Now he never stopped smiling. I never saw that ever.
Let me tell you something. Life is a lot easier when you're a retired NBA coach as when you're a coach. It's a little bit different. Yes, he was very, he was demanding, but it wasn't ever like it wasn't an uncomfortable thing. It was like he set standards for us, and we lived up to those standards. And when we didn't, he held us accountable to it. And I think that's parenting, that's teaching, that's coaching. But we knew how to stay in line, and it worked.
Now it's your turn with your 3 kids.
Yeah, my kids are out of control. It's not the same. Parenting has changed.
That changed a lot.
Yeah, and my 3 kids have won. I'll give them that.
They're winning the battle right now. Your father continues to be a big part of this organization as an advisor. Before we let you go, identity-wise, what do you want to establish for this team? What is the Cleveland Cavaliers' identity in a perfect world heading into this season?
I think, we want to be the most competitive team on the floor. And, that doesn't always end in results. You know what I mean? Like, we understand that we're building something right now. But we want to be, every single night the fans come to play or come to see us play, we want them to be like, they play hard. And make them feel like they got their money's worth every single time we step on the floor. And then we want to be an extremely unselfish team. We want to play the game the right way. We want to play together. We want to play for one another. We understand that there's something bigger than us as individuals. And again, the relationship with the fans is huge. And, you want to give them what they deserve every single night. And, playing unselfish, playing competitive, I think that's what they want to see. And they'll keep coming back. I believe the fans are loyal here, and they just want to see guys, that blue-collar toughness, that type of mentality.
JB, great stuff. Good seeing you. Have a wonderful first season, and welcome to Cleveland.
Appreciate it.
Does anybody call you John Blair anymore?
Only my mom and dad. And my wife when my mom is around.
In other words, don't call me John Blair. JB's going to work. More CavsHQ right after this.
And we are back. As many of you know, community service is one of the pillars of the Cavaliers organization. And last week, Cavs guard Matt Dellavedova and his wife Anna held a Vision Day right here at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse as they hosted 150 kids from University Settlement. Every child got a free vision screening from Cleveland Clinic practitioners, and if it was determined that the child needed glasses, they were able to meet with a doctor on site to determine their prescriptions. They even got to pick out their new frames, which were provided for free by the Esseler Vision Foundation Changing Life Through Lenses program. Afterwards, the kids were treated to a fun Cavs-themed party, complete with games and entertainment from members of the Scream Team, Powerhouse, and 216 Sticks. With education being an important area of focus for the Dellavedovas, their community outreach centers around literacy and vision, knowing an important part of reading is being able to see properly. Cavs in the Community is brought to you by Discount Drug Mart. Nice stuff, Deli. We'll be right back with more of CavsHQ. We are back for the second half of CavsHQ. Our thanks to our featured guest, Associate Head Coach J.B. Bickerstaff. And look who we are joined by on set, Ryan Boo Banks. Good to see you.
Good to see you guys.
How have you been?
Great. Thanks for having me back.
Are you coming to, again, to grace our studio?
Yeah. Coming right off the bench. Yeah. First off the bench here.
You've been busy lately.
Very much so. It's been a busy summer, and now the season's in full swing. So
we are here inside the Fred McLeod TV studio, and obviously, Boo, it's been a time in the organization that has not been easy, especially for those of us in the broadcasting department here with the Cavaliers for obvious reasons. But you were part of something this past week that was really, really special, really, really touching. Please share.
It was super special.
Yeah,
so my coworker, Cheryl Z, actually came up with the concept to gift all of Fred's ties to those that were close to him here at the Cavs family, broadcasters around the NBA, people at the league offices, former coaches, former players. And like I said, she came up with the idea, and I, along with her, helped execute it 100%. We took the idea to Beth, when we came up with it, just to get her approval, and it was kind of touchy. You don't know what's going to come out of something like that, an ask like that, and she was 1,000,000% on board.
Great.
And so we ordered boxes and labels and ribbon and tissue paper and got the note card going of what was going to be included in the boxes, and it took us, a good 3 or 4 days of packaging up over 260 of Fred's ties. And his passing has been extremely difficult for me. I did a lot with him, not only personally, but professionally as well. And he would come to my son's sporting events, and, so it's been really tough. So this project has really let me grieve in a way, in the most beautiful way. And now that it's come to fruition, the major delivery of ties was Friday, and seeing all the notes come in and just speaking to Beth herself has been extremely healing and wonderful.
Yeah, that's the part real quick I was going to ask you about. That it obviously so many people have been touched, but Beth's been so strong and so great. Just share a little bit about how this has been for her. I mean, it's touching for us to see all of these people around the NBA come forward.
And as I was talking to her through the process, I again was kind of tiptoeing around with emotions and how do I pick up the ties and this and that? And we talked about that process, and she's just like, there's a story for every tie. Because I was curious when I was packaging up all the ties, how did he pick the ties and what made him choose this tie for that game and this and that? And she said they had a whole bit together, and he would pick out 2 ties and she would see him in the one and make him change his shirt and this and that. And again, it was this whole bit that the two of them shared before every game. And she said there was just a story about every single tie. And that helped her, again, hand over the ties to us to then distribute.
I'm glad you mentioned that about the story because, first of all, I was so happy to see her back on TV. And I texted her and I said, I'm so glad that you're back on. But when I came to the office, Cheryl was doing the packaging, and when I heard about the plan and the tribute, I wanted a tie that I remember vividly seeing Fred wearing on the road, and I was like, man, that is the nicest tie I ever seen you wear. And we all talk about Fred looking for perfection at work and with his family. His looks were very important to him too. He wanted to look always sharp. So I kept that tie. I took it out of the bag, and I let Beth know last night too that I ended up with 2 ties. But
so wait, he handpicked his own tie?
Yeah.
He took somebody else's tie away from
No.
Rafa did that, yes.
I'm just making sure that this is what's happened.
You're hearing this correctly.
That may have been my tie. That may have been my tie.
No, because that's the tie that I saw him wear, and I wanted it. I want that. So he only wore ties once, right?
Correct.
So I get the box from Beth, which she then tells me yesterday that she handpicked the ties for certain people, and I was lucky to be one of them.
Yeah.
She did.
And then I'm looking at the media guy as I'm getting ready for the game and preparing for a season, and I see a picture of Fred and AC from 2012 wearing the tie
Same
I got
one, is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's so great. She handpicked about 50 or so specific ties for specific people. Brad Sellers, because he went to Ohio State, and I'm sure Austin Carr had a story for his tie, and like I said, there's a story for every tie.
So my plan is to frame that tie, because Fred would only want me to wear it once, of course.
That's right.
And then,
that's
put his picture and a picture of me wearing the tie, and I think that'll make it special.
To me, that's what stood out the most, to see the different people involved in the NBA. Not even just in the NBA, but different people around Cleveland sports respond to it. And then you finally get a sense of how many people's lives Fred touched.
Yeah.
And official, we're talking about NBA officials, we're talking about different broadcasters from different teams, everything
Coaches.
Coach, right.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it just, that hit home to me in terms of moving forward. And I think it all helps in the process for all of us. We've talked about this on the show before, Boo, but what would Fred have wanted us to do right now as we go into the opening week of the season? Rally.
Sure.
Right? I mean, he would have wanted us to continue to celebrate and love this team and this organization, this sport, the same way he did, and I think it's helping a lot with the process.
Absolutely. And I can't wait till opening night to get our picture with all of us that are there with our ties on opening night. And then throughout the course of the season, when visiting announcers, play-by-play guys come here from other teams playing in our building, and they wear theirs to honor Fred. And, that was the point of all of this.
Right. And Kristen, I know the Pacers are in town for the home opener on Saturday. Kristen Ari, play-by-play voice of the Pacers, got one, and he said, I'm going to have this thing, and I'm going to have it on proudly here on Saturday night. Boo, wonderful stuff. Send our best to Beth.
Thank you. I was
stuff.
honored to be a part of it for all of you as well. It was a huge secret, which again was just the best part of it because nobody really knew, and that made it so much more rewarding when you guys all got the packages on the Friday. Or
there were people that were on the road. I know some beat writers have posted that they were on the road and they have seen the activity on social media, and then they got home and they had a box for themselves. They were like so thrilled that everybody's just honored to be part of this tribute. And I think that is one thing that I make sure I told Beth last night, that because she mentioned to me she was worried that people will forget. I said, nobody forget. Fred is not the type of person that you forget about.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thanks
I can't wait.
Thank you. Yeah, more from the Fred McLeod TV studio on CavsHQ right after this. Back in the depths of Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, John Michael alongside Rafa Hernandez-Brito. NBA basketball for real kicks off on Tuesday night. A couple of good games.
What a way to kick it off.
I know. New Orleans at Toronto, and then the Battle of L.A., Lakers and Clippers. That Western Conference is primed for a shakeup.
A big one, I think.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are predicting a big shakeup, not just among, what teams are going to make the playoffs, but among, where teams are going to sit. The teams that finished 8th, the Clippers, and a team that finished on the outside looking in, the Lakers, are,
but
at least Vegas says, the two favorites in the West right now.
For the first time in, 5 years, the Warriors are not favored to win the West. That's easy to say, no?
Yeah,
I mean,
easily.
Yeah.
Easily. So here's the big question, as our folks on the TV side are looking at the standings from last season, 1 through 10 in the Western Conference. Who makes the playoffs? Who does not make the playoffs? Let's start there. Let's not predict who's going to win the West, all right? Let's say who's in and who's out in the Western Conference.
Well, let me tell you, from the guys the teams that made the playoff last year,
right,
which is the Warriors, the Nuggets, the Blazers, the Rockets, the Jazz, Oklahoma, San Antonio, and the Clippers. I would say Oklahoma will be giving that spot up.
I agree. That's where I start.
Okay.
I'll make it simple.
Let's switch the Lakers and put the Lakers there.
Oklahoma City's out. The Lakers, which finished 10th last season, are in. All right, there's your starting point.
So I have...
Does anybody else come out? Does anyone else fall out of the playoff picture? Of course, the Thunder lost Paul George, lost Russell Westbrook. They did pick up Chris Paul. Most folks think that they will be on the outside looking in. So I think that's a safe bet. Let's take Oklahoma City out.
First thing, we got to put in the Lakers.
Let's put the Lakers in.
Yeah.
Right. So there you go. Now, do any of those other playoff teams fall out?
Now you have 7.
7 other
including
playoff,
the Clippers,
7 other incumbents in the Western Conference. Do any fall out?
I know the Spurs have made the playoff in 22 straight seasons.
22 straight. Longest streak in the NBA right now. The next longest is 7, Houston and Golden State.
Now the question is Minnesota, Dallas, or New Orleans, I think, are the 3 teams that could be fighting for the 8th spot.
I got a different one that I think finishes 9th.
Who?
Go ahead. I like Sacramento. Out of those teams.
Well, the Kings made it last year.
The Kings did not make the playoffs.
They don't make it. They ended up 9th.
9th, yes.
So you think they bump up?
No. My prediction is what we just said stays. I like the Kings. The Kings are my favorite also Rams in the West. I think they are
so
going to
you leave the Spurs in?
Yep. I think pick against the Spurs at your own peril. They get DeJounte Murray back this season. Nobody knew who Derek White or Bryn Forbes were last year. Nobody knew who they were. That's suddenly the starting backcourt for the Spurs. And oh, by the way, they're back in the playoff picture again. They hope Lonnie Walker steps it up this season, second-year player. I say pick against the Spurs at your own peril. I say they're back in once again.
I think that those last 2 spots are going to be really it's going to be a battle.
So who's in there, do you think? I think to me, the Kings are 9th. All right. Who else? Do people like Dallas this season?
I like Dallas a lot.
The Doncic and Porzingis show.
I like Dallas a lot. I think they're going to be the surprise team in that conference. Does that mean they make the playoff? I think they're going to be fighting for it.
Yeah.
But I really like the Mavericks.
I can't see them being close.
Now, I don't think New Orleans, with all the changes and Zion Williams.
People love New Orleans.
A
lot of people. Here's what I like. People, you hear this so much. Oh, New Orleans is a playoff team this year. Okay, well, tell me what team they're going to knock out. Exactly. And I can't see.
And when you look at it that way, and when you look at the 8 that made it last year, it's hard to at least put 2 teams that are in the balance, which are for me Oklahoma and San Antonio. Oklahoma is completely out. Let's say I'm willing to take them out and put the Lakers in.
Right.
With Anthony Davis and LeBron James and
of course LA is going to be. I mean the Lakers are going to be, no question. Right. Go ahead.
So now it's just one spot for like 3 or 4 teams.
Yeah. Well, no spots if you ask me. Oklahoma City goes out, Lakers go in. Yeah. So I say those teams that are on the cusp, let's say, the Kings,
the
Pelicans,
you
the
putting
Mavericks.
the Spurs in.
Yep. Mm-hmm. With this, if you want to talk about, we always do friendly wagers on this show. The Spurs are going to make the playoffs. I'll take that one. We can figure out what.
In the absence of Joe G,
yeah,
we got the over under.
I like them, man. I don't like. I think what Dallas is doing is neat. I think they made a really, really aggressive move, moving up 2 spots to be able to get Luka Doncic trading with the Hawks.
And they
had to hit it,
yeah.
and they hit it. All right, and they put themselves in a position to move forward. That West, to me, is way too tough. I have Dallas 11th. Yeah. 11th. But, some people say, all right, this is the year that maybe Portland comes out. This is the year, you look at some other teams there. What are your thoughts about Houston? I mean, Houston, once again, came so close last year, right? But now they're... some people would say, well, just run it back. You were really close. Now Golden State is starting to have some pieces go away. Play it again. Do it again with the same lineup. And they decided not to do that. Obviously, they go with Russell Westbrook, who goes into Houston. I was looking at some numbers. This was just yesterday. So James Harden led the league in shots per game, right? 24.5 shots per game. Not surprising. The guy led the league in scoring by 8 points over the next closest guy in Paul George. 4th in shots per game last season, Russell Westbrook at over 20.5 per game. Those two also were 1 and 2 in turnovers last season. Now, maybe not that surprising because of their high usage rate, but that usage rate likely will have to diminish at least for one, if not both of those two, if they're going to coexist.
And they both have not had any success in taking their team. I know before they had to battle with the Warriors, but they both had chances. Yeah. Westbrook and Durant had a 3-1 lead in that conference finals, and Harden had also a chance with a game at home.
Yeah.
And they went 0 for 27 and shooting threes
that was one of the ugliest games.
So
yeah, I'm not. And again, you could put. It's up to you. That's what makes basketball fun. How much onus to put on Harden or to put on Westbrook. To me, I thought last season the Thunder was one of the most disappointing teams. Paul George played out of this world last season. Both sides of the ball. He was fantastic. Second in the league in scoring. Did so much on the defensive end as well. And they petered out in the first round of the playoffs. And now suddenly it's the organizational cycle in the NBA. They're trying to bring it back up once again.
Let me ask you a question. We said at the opening of this segment that Golden State is not the favorite to win the West. And I think that's something that you don't have to be a gambling person to say, to make the statement. Who do you think makes the best improvement, the Nuggets or the Jazz in that division?
Everybody seems to like the Jazz. I'm not buying the Jazz yet, though. Mike Conley's there, of course. Yeah. Quinn Snyder just got re-upped. Yeah. They like what they're doing there. I'm not crazy about the Jazz.
They have a good shooter. They added a shooter, too, with
Bogdanovich. Yeah, he comes over from Indiana. I thought that was a big loss, by the way, for the Pacers. But even though the Pacers picked up Malcolm Brogdon, the Nuggets are an interesting – I'm not buying Utah yet. It's going to take me – I like rooting for Denver. I like rooting for Portland, primarily because a couple of the Cavs' former assistants who we like, Jordy Fernandez, Nate Tibbetts, work on those staffs. And they're good staffs, good people, good teams.
But they seem to be the teams that – making that next step, taking that next step, because they've been at it for a while now.
You hope
this is the year that one of those teams have to make a move and make that step.
Yeah, you think
take that step.
And then there are others who say this is the season Portland falls out.
Because remember how in the days when I started watching the NBA, it was like the Bulls pushing, but it was the Pistons moving, and then they finally made the obviously the Knicks never made that step until Michael retired. But I think the Nuggets or the Jazz are primed for this year to they're both young. I like the Nuggets more than the Jazz. With
Jamal
with
Murray,
the Joker in the middle,
obviously
just playing. He's the one that moves everything. So I like that better than the Blazers or the Jazz. I like the Nuggets.
It's interesting. That conference is a bear. Yeah. Oh my goodness! And again, the Kings,
those West Coast trips.
The Kings are a perfect example to me. They have it seems like they've gotten their organization in a position where things are starting to roll. You know what I mean? They had some success. Buddy Hield, De'Aaron Fox. They had great seasons last year. Only getting better. Luke Walton's now there. But geez, they're going to be. To me, they're butting their head up against it's just too much.
Well, it starts on Tuesday.
Yeah, and it all starts on Tuesday. Again, the New Orleans is at Toronto, the defending champs in the first game, and then it's the Battle of LA in game number 2.
Right
Tuesday.
Off the bat.
They
put those two guys up.
Yeah. The day before the Cavaliers get started on Wednesday as the Cavs are in
That's
Orlando.
The one we want.
And we get it going. Should be fun. Cavs, of course, home opener on Saturday as they're back here to take on the Indiana Pacers. We will be back to wrap things up here on CavsHQ right after this.
1, 2, 3, 4.
De regreso con ustedes on CavsHQ.
Listen to this. Welcome back as we close up shop here on Los CavsHQ. So what are you looking forward to most? We get going Wednesday night in Orlando, Cavs Magic. You are looking forward to what the most?
Not being the loudest broadcaster in the NBA when we played the Magic, Joey Colon.
His part. I honest to goodness never thought I'd meet somebody who calls a game louder than you, and I could not have been more wrong. That is the loudest human alive. On the air, he is the loudest human alive.
At Orlando, it's understandable because we sit next to each other, and the people at the studio, at La Mega, tells me, "Can you please turn down that noise?" I'm like, "I can't. It's the guy broadcasting next to me." At home, he sits in the middle, in the row between the English radio and the Spanish radio, and he plays on both of us.
He screams right into Jim Chone's ear the whole time.
Yes, Joey Colombo. He's a great guy. He's the one that brings us the wine for the flight home. So.
I see. Well, thank you.
I'm looking forward to that.
What else on the floor? How about that?
I want to see how the rookies work out. I want to see. I want to see Darius Garland in the action.
That's where I start. I'm looking forward to seeing Darius as well.
Yeah.
We'll see. Obviously, at this point, what the Cavs starting lineup's going to look like, what the Cavs rotation is going to look like. And again, bodies are in and out of the lineup. Cavs have dealt with some injuries during Camp B line, but it's going to be fun. I mean, there's a lot to. In previous seasons, we knew exactly what it was going to look like. Not so much this year.
And I might be one in this moment 2 months from now, but I can't wait to get back to our routine of game, shoot around, practice, travel.
Yeah.
I might not be saying the same thing in December or January, but it's about to start.
Yeah, I think the players are ready for that as well as we get it going. Wednesday night on the road in Orlando, back here at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. Saturday night as the Cavs take on the Pacers. Thanks for watching. He's Rafa. I'm John. Until next time, this is CavsHQ.
Adios.